Day is, how did I make my first million? So I made my first million in real estate and gas and oil, and it's a combination like this. So I had a lot of what I call runway. Like I had a lot of things in place, but like a lot of folks, it wasn't in the right sequence. It was a little bit out of order. I was worried about debt because I didn't understand debt the way I know now. I didn't realize how critical corporate structure and trust and anyway, so I got pregnant with my son, Logan, and I got really urgent. So I, again, spent a bunch of money and hired the coach that I should have been hiring the whole time. Like a lot of you, I delayed and had all those excuses. So 1999 was my millionaire year, got really serious, called the coach I needed to call, 20 years of my senior, and said, I'm serious. And he said, you can do everything I say. I said, absolutely. And he said, get on a plane, meet me in Oklahoma City. And so he taught me how to use my community and my network on how to raise capital. So we raised a lot of money and with accredited investors, and we bought a lot of real estate. And we held that real estate for 8 to 10 years. And so that combination of real estate and then self-directing my IRA and taking some of the cash that I had and putting it into gas and oil, which gives a massive depreciation and tax benefit, that combination of better taxes, better returns, and two massive asset classes made me a millionaire. And by the time I did all those moves between January 1999 and June, my birthday at 34 years old, became a millionaire. So that's how I did mine. Let me help you do yours.
So hey, I'm Loren Norris here with Leading Leaders Podcast and Tell It Like It Is TV with Loral Langemeier. And I don't know if you know Loral or not, but if you watch my podcast at all, you've heard me talk about her dozens of times. And one of the things that I find most fascinating is that, as I've said before right here on the show, we have about a 60-40 agreement. And by that I mean about 60% of the stuff that either one of us talks about from the platform, you could read her stuff and read mine, you wouldn't know any different. And about 40% we kind of look at it and go, yeah, I'm not sure I'm on board with that.
Well, I think we should have that conversation we were just talking about, and then we'll just let them vote.
And that's
let them vote.
Exactly, because I teach on quantum physics and the reticular activating system and how that impacts your story. And so tell me, reticular activating system, quantum physics, how does that impact your finance?
It's a direct correlation. I mean, I teach it from more of an energy, right? Vibration,
right.
Same thing. So, well, I'm going to go a little bit different direction. How does it affect your finance? I think it has everything to do with it. I think, what's interesting about The Secret, right, having been in it, the piece that doesn't get talked about is how it actually transact to your banking, right, to the bank account, is your feelings are a huge part of your energy. And I think when people say, well, I have a mindset, they're thinking, not feeling.
Right.
Right? And it all is connected. So if you have a nervous energy, or even just a nervous energy around asking me a question, people in that room, because we're here in Dallas, Texas, in the cool room, people are scared to talk about it. So, right?
Intimidated to talk about money, like when you did the makeovers.
But if you have that feeling and you consistently restrict in your feeling, it's going to show up in your bank account. So when we say, and I say, again, quantum physics, like when you really think about it, it's not just the vision board and how you the things you want to see.
Which is projection.
In your head, projection, right? It's in your body, it's in your cells. Like you have to just know. You don't have to know how, you have to know it's going to come. And where the people get screwed up in the how is they're not using who. They're not using people who actually know what the hell they're doing.
Okay.
Right? So they're trying to figure out how to do their own podcast, right? They're trying to figure out or they just don't do it. They're trying to figure out how to write their own book, and they don't know how to write.
And if they don't know how to write, they just throw the brakes on.
Right.
They just stop where they're at.
And they actually should not write. I don't write. I talk. And then I transcribe. We have all these amazing tools. And then I hire
let an
somebody.
editor convert it to the
I hire the Who
to
create an amazing book, 5 New York Times.
Okay, so
I'm going again next year. With 3 books.
A project that I've been working on called the Attitude Hack. Now, I've taught this for the Congolese government. I've taught it for the University of Kinshasa at the doctoral level. I've taught it for high school students. And one of the things that I've never really addressed is the attitude of money. But here's attitude according to Dr. Daniel Amen, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Caroline Leaf. They always say attitude is a thought plus an emotion. You've heard me teach that 1,000 times.
Yep.
How you think about what you feel and what you feel about how you think. And so if I hear a thought and I instantly have an emotional reaction to that, that is an attitude by its nature.
That's true.
But if you go back to the Edinburgh Lectures of Mental Science in 1904, they said that energy in motion is emotion. So the vibrational energy that comes and goes, ebbs and flows out of your body, the way that you are received in a room, the way you project yourself in a room, the way people feel when you show up, that is the attitude. That's the energy in motion. So what is the attitude of money? An example, I grew up with my mom telling me, the rich get rich, the poor go broke, and it's the rich's fault. Now, I've also listened to Dr. Sir Lawrence talk about the idea of the industrial age and how that impacted education. You talked about that yesterday.
1933.
You also talked about how the way that we've been taught to sit in rows, follow the order, do the obedient thing, made us slaves, basically, to an economic system of W-2.
Yeah. It goes around everything, how we eat. Why do you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Why don't you eat when you're hungry? I mean, there is so much structure, rules that have just been indoctrinated since the industrial age, 1933. Being an employee, you only get 2 breaks, you only get lunch. Like, who made all that up? Like,
and what part of efficiency was that?
No, there's no efficiency. It's under control. So you call it slaves, I say high control. So you say, what's the vibration attitude of money? It's fast and confident. I mean, you know my energy on stage. I mean, it's kind of what I'm known for.
Yeah, it's funny because I
extremely forward. It doesn't.
I cheat. I ask people questions like, "So is Loral really frazzled today?" And your team goes, "Frazzled? No, that word doesn't really resonate." Which is funny because a lot of people go, "No, she's frazzled." I'm like, "No, she's not. She just operates on an entirely different level." Her
the speed,
slowing down to wait for everybody else to catch up is absolutely frustrating.
Yes.
So everybody else goes, she must be frazzled. Like, no, she's waiting on you. Just mentally, emotionally catch up. Yeah. Come on,
and I can even finish your sentence, and it's not because I'm disrespectful. When you just live at that level of thought and speed, and I'm going to add a couple like skills, right? Because I always like sharing, like, how did you get here? Memory techniques. I studied them since I was 16, 17, 18. High memory techniques. Still do it. Photographic memory. I don't think I was born with it. I think I've created it.
Okay.
There's some of the greatest, like Jim Quick's great at it. Ron Wider great at it. I mean, I just had Ron come to our big table to teach memory techniques because you got to know how to do it. And the other one is speed reading. But speed reading also creates speed thought.
Yes.
Right? Because I don't need to hear the story, the is, does, all that.
Cut to the chase.
Just get to the point, get to the result. Now, the downside of speed reading is I can't audio read my books.
Right.
It took me, and when I did with Reed Tracy, when I did my Yes Energy book, Reed's like, only the author gets to read it. I said, you understand, speed readers can't read out loud. Like, that's kind of my joke with my kids. They're like, how come you never read us a lot of books when we were young? Like, we listened to them, we didn't read them. So because I miss words. Like, when you're really highly trained. You
essentially skip the articles. Yeah.
Yeah, you skip all that because you don't need it. Your brain has such amazing power to connect dots. You don't need all of that.
Okay, so realistically, do you speed read financial concepts?
Oh, God,
and by that I mean leave out all the fluffy details that everybody else gets so enraptured in.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a lot of financial analysts on our team, right? I think if folks haven't been watching our integrated, it went from Live Out Loud is the company, which it still is, but Integrated Wealth Systems is really what we do. So it's this big URL new brand, and it's great. It's what we do. Now that you've seen it too, like you've seen this as a whole new team.
I have. So I have to say, for those of you who have watched me, I mean, Leading Leaders podcast is now 4 years old. Started as Tell It Like It Is TV, but my journey in the world of motivational speaking and leadership coach started in 2011 with the World Championship of Public Speaking with Toastmasters. Then I joined the John Maxwell team.
Good.
That took me to James Malinchak, which is where I met Loral the first time in 2012. I went to Orange County to the one of the last, I guess it was, or near the last, 3 days to fast cash.
Yeah.
I sat through that, and the first day, I came with 6 books to sell because they said, you will get to sell stuff. And I'm like, good, that'll pay for my lunch. And I came with 6 books, and I sold out them in the first round. And then I listened to other people tell their story about their product, and I went, that doesn't make any sense. And so I started helping people recraft their stories. And what you know now as storypower is that is a 6-hour workshop. I charge $1,000 a person to go.
That's
I charge $1,000 a month for coaching clients to go to that. And it started in your class because it changed the way I think about money. And can you ask for more money from people?
Always.
So that's part of it. So as we look at this evolution from Live Out Loud to Integrated Wealth Systems, one of the other things that I noticed was you've really stepped up the game as far as what's taught, how deep it's taught, because I'm like you, I'm a researcher, I'm a thinker, I'm a studier, I never stop. But that means that there are some people who are going to get left behind because they come looking for that $25 transaction, and what you're teaching is $25 million transactions and $250,000 transactions, and you've got to think and play and relate at an entirely different level to do that.
Completely. So as you notice, I have a lot of team, and so some of the team.
That's probably one of my favorite things is hearing from so many other experts, because you've always referred to them. But they've always been kept at arm's length, and now to be able to actually hear them say, so here's what I think and here's why. You know, the stories about the $72,000 tax return. That's huge.
Huge.
That's enormous. And it's exactly what we say in the world of coaching. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's why you need to hire somebody who does.
Yep. And so I want to just address, so the people aren't getting left behind, because what we're going to do, well, two things. And since you love evolution, one of the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to find a group, and I want to license my 3 days to cash work. It's just too good. That work was pristinely
I think it should be
done.
It should be in high schools.
Exactly.
It should be a high school mentoring program for these kids who are coming out going, I'm going to go to college and make 60 grand. No, you're not. You're going to go to college and have $200,000 worth of debt and no job.
Right. Or at least. So I want to license that. But the other thing too is there are a lot of people in our community that are beginning, and they have their own work. So Kyle, who you see in the room, right, Air Force fighter pilot, he has a flight to financial freedom. It is that beginning stuff, almost, again, percents off, but it's still that financial initial stuff that I did way back in my Guerrilla Wealth days, right? It's like I look at my Guerrilla Wealth book I wrote in 2004, and I'm thinking, can I add another lesson to those listening? If you have a book in you and you don't think it's the best, but it's all you got, get it on paper. Because here's the other thing spiritually, right? Yeah. Is I also believe that people are extremely selfish with their knowledge. Extremely selfish. They're all worried about themselves. You know, it's not ready, it's not ready. I don't know how many people have a book for 6 years.
And it's their ego that they're holding on to it.
Absolutely. Oh, boy, is that a whole nother conversation. Yeah. They don't know it's their ego, though.
No.
Right? They don't have.
They make excuses to cover their pride, and then they hold it within themselves, not realizing how many other people's lives could be impacted by it. And the fact that, just like you said, you look at guerrilla work and you now go,
oh my God,
okay, that was so amateur.
It was so big, but it was the best I had in that minute.
And if it hadn't come out then, what would have evolved?
Well, and what happens spiritually, I always say, if you don't release it and give it, you aren't getting any more. Because people say, why? And you're very similar. Like high thinkers and fast thinkers continue to get knowledge downloaded.
Well, and B&I, Ivan Meisner's whole world was found on that giver's gain.
Yeah.
If you don't give, you can't gain.
But see, I think a lot of people hear that as money. I'm talking thought as well. Like
and
everything
relationship.
you have got to just continue. Like, why do you think this has evolved? Because I keep changing. Like, there's days, my team, that's what they think is frazzled because it drives them crazy. And that's coming soon. There will be a day, and you'll see it in 2020, promise. It happened with the fast cash. You know, I just said, I'm done teaching that. I'm going back to what I know.
Moving
and
on.
I want, moving on. And they said, well, how are we going to migrate for months? I said, we're not. We're just going to change the conversation today. Yeah. And I'm not going to talk about it today. And I stopped. And it shocked my whole marketing team. They're like, oh my God, we have to rewrite copy. I said, keep up. I'm talking, you transcribe, keep it on the pages, and just keep moving. And so coming soon, like I'm launching my legacy and my parenting stuff. Because it does have to go to school systems. And I think, Sharon Lecter's, like, I call her my financial mom. And she's already got some financial literacy in the Arizona school system. But my fast cash has got to get into, I think, junior high. I think it's middle school before they start getting, I think it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Well, I have a 7th grader right now, so I know it's like she's perfect time for it. She's watched it, but her friends like it. Right?
Yeah.
That's a perfect
Well, and
age.
I do agree, especially as we see so much more of, I want free college, I want free class, I want free this, I want free that. We see so much indoctrination, for lack of a better term, where kids are having such a distorted relationship to money. I mean, mine was jacked up. There's no doubt. There's no doubt it was jacked up.
But the jack up now is even more. It's
detrimental. It's being trained towards slavery or bondage or however you want to label that. They're being trained to be under the thumb of. Yeah.
Or to do nothing.
Well, and if you get what you need sustenance-wise without doing anything at all, then basically I own you. That is slavery. I don't know. How else would you label that, right? If you only get what you get because I gave it to you and only because you comply with everything I tell you to, that's slavery.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Let's call it. Okay, so how many of you would love to see this conversation continue? Yeah. I'm going to guess almost all of you. So please send a little like, thumbs up, comment, share the page.
On mine too, because then we'll keep going live on mine. We're going to roll.
And we're going to come back at another time. We'll do a multi-camera shoot. We'll sit down just like we're going to do with Dr. Ivan Meisner and several other people.
And bring my team. I want
to
bring
the team. Yes, we're going to walk through the entire team. In fact, we may just go to Nevada and do this. So if you're bored, you want to go along for the trip, let me know. You can come carry camera equipment.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Honor to be here.
Take care.
And thank you all for watching. Again, please share the videos, comments. We'd love to have your opinions. Have a great day.
James Malinchak is in the final hours of his experience as the secret millionaire. He has already given away to deserving people within the community. Now he's about to surprise more unsuspecting people.
I got goosebumps going up my back, and I'm just so thrilled. I just can't wait to do this next gift. I want to jump. I actually will. I feel like a kid in a candy store. I am so jazzed up. I just can't wait for this one. You and I only have known each other for a couple days, and I think you're an amazing human being. You have a lot of trust with these young ladies, and you're a father figure to them. You're a role model. You're a big brother. You're a friend.
Yeah.
And you'll never stop doing this.
No, it's just something in my blood.
It's who you are. You can't stop. And you told me there was a time, and there was a 15-year-old girl that came up to you and said, Coach, I heard that you were going to retire, and you wanted to be honest and say, yeah, I've been thinking about it. And you said that she started to get a tear in her eye when you told her that. And that I think the reason that you won't retire is because you don't want to see that tear again. And you have given so much of your life and your own money. And from one ball player and friend to another, I'd like to give you this check. And Tony,
You need it, Tony. You need it.
under one condition, this is for you.
Yes.
That's why I wanted to do it in front of, this is Miss Baylor. I know what he'll do, and he'll want to give it back. But
No,
Tony,
he
this is
spent it
for
on
you
himself.
from one friend who sees that I think you're a special and beautiful person. And it'd be an honor to take this. Thank you, buddy. You're a true inspiration. You don't meet too many people that you realize they're going to be your friend for a life.
That goes without saying, man. Maybe we go shoot some ball one day together. Show me some little leg tricks and show glory.
I would be glad to. These people, they'll never leave me. I mean, they're always going to be in my heart, because how can I be side by side with them and see just what genuine love they have for the community and for the people in the community, and how can I not be changed?
Hey, here we are with Facebook Live, and I'm hoping that it's actually live because Facebook is terrible about cutting off my videos halfway through. Are we actually seeing a countdown on that little screen up there? Yes?
It says live.
It says live. All right. Look at your fingers in front of it. Do you see me moving? Because that's the real key. In case you're curious about doing Facebook Live videos, when you start your camera, if you're looking at the screen, you're backwards. If you can see yourself, you're mirror imaged. If you want to be on the right side, you got to use the camera on the back of the phone. That's also the better quality camera. Just gee whiz. But there's a microphone on the back of the camera too, so you're going to hear yourself better. If you're looking at this image properly, you'll see on my right-hand side a world-famous multimillionaire. Millionaire, as in likes to give away money millionaire, doesn't do as much anymore, but secret millionaire, he did. Right now, what he gives away is some of the best training you're going to get. So if you have a desire to be a millionaire, whether it's as a speaker, a writer, a coach, the owner of a barbecue franchise that's going all across the country, James is the guy that can coach you. How do you know? Well, because he coaches people like Jack Canfield and Lauren Midgley and Tim Gillette, and Jim Gardner has been to his training materials, and Mike Davis, and I know Mike is watching because I've been having a conversation with Mike today, and he said to tell you hi.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? He was just at my event.
He was just at your event. And so there are a lot of people that are in the circles that I run in, and a lot of people that are way above the circles that I run in who are influenced by James Malinchak. So James, tell me something. One of the questions that a lot of people ask, especially when it comes to being a big money speaker, is why do you really do what you do? And I think the question behind the question for most people is it all about the money, or is there something else behind it?
So when I started as a speaker, I listened to a lot of stuff out there that it just really isn't true. And I was broke, making $7 an hour working in a video store. I heard things like this: just dream big and you'll actually profit with your message, or just have passion, or just tell your story. And I was doing all that stuff, and I had no bookings. So then I started to say, well, it's got to be me, and I'm a failure, and this ain't gonna work. And then I had a mentor that was the turning point, who said, stop listening to speakers. Most of them are broke. Go out and learn from the top marketers. And so, like any good student, like if my mentor says something, I go and do it, right? So I went and did it, and that's when my career went from zero to hero, so to speak. And I started booking talks like crazy, because I realized something: you're not in the speaking business, you're in the business of marketing your speaker services. So why do I really love doing this is this: you can have the best message in the world, you can want to make the biggest impact, the biggest difference, but if nobody knows about you, then you're sitting at home broke. And if you're sitting at home broke, not booking talks, or not moving your great value with your products or your services, then you're not supporting your family. You're not, getting out of debt. You're not, it's the business side that nobody ever taught me, and nobody teaches anybody. So the thing about Big Money Speaker Bootcamp, it's not even about big money, it's about the business side of speaking. And when you learn that, then big money just attracts to you. So what I love is helping people who have a message, story, any kind of wisdom, any kind of how-to advice, to realize that that's important, but there's also something that's important, and it's a second side of the coin, and that's called the business. And if you learn this second side, which nobody ever teaches us when we start,
right,
then you can impact more people, you can have more influence, and yes, you will have more income.
So how about the idea that, there are a lot of people out there who are quote unquote gurus or experts. And as gurus and experts, they also have this little fear edge that says, I can't train everybody to do what I do, because then suddenly I'll have all this competition. Are you afraid that one day the platform will be too full for you to still speak?
I heard a statistic years ago where they said in the United States alone, there's roughly 7,000 events go on every day where there's speakers needed.
Wow.
I can never do 7,000, in
That's
probably
only
my
about
lifetime.
2.1 million a year, is that right?
Yeah, and by the way, anybody that says that, they're coming from a scarcity mindset, and you should choose to live in an abundance mindset. The world, the pie is big enough for everyone, and that's just a ridiculous way to think.
So what would you say, and I'm going to take this back to when I first found out about you. I was doing YouTube searches in August of 2010, before I even wrote my first book.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that's how you found me.
I did.
Search. Oh.
YouTube search, sitting in Gateway Church in South Lake, Texas.
Oh.
And I searched becoming a paid speaker. And I came across this background interview that you were doing, very long sales page, just an audio in the background. And you said, I went to see this other guy speak, and this lady approached me after I had asked a few questions and said, you're very articulate, but I could make you a better speaker. And you said, great, so do you speak a lot? And she said, no, I'm a speaking coach. And he said, well, great. Who do you coach that I might know? And she said, well, you would be my first client. And James said, well, then why would I want you to pay me? And by the way, how many times have you spoken? And she said, well, I haven't. I mostly coach, but I don't have any clients. And James said, well, I spoke to about 20 colleges last month. So what are you going to teach me?
I remember,
and
yeah.
I remember sitting there listening to that video, and I thought, this is a guy I need to spend some time with. And, after we went through homelessness and everything else from 2010 till now, and all of the transitions in our life, and 4 kids and 7 grandkids, and now we look at life and we're going, okay, so how do we now give back? And I know that there are charities that you not only raise money for, but charities that you donate money to. And I'm guessing there are probably people that you serve who say the impact they're making in the world is worth so much more than they would ever pay me as a coach. Can you tell one of those quick stories about that transition where you said, you know what, I've reached the point where it's not really about the money, it's about the impact?
So, first of all, it should always be about the impact and the influence. And it's a triangle, so you need all 3. You need impact, influence, and income. By the way, money's not a bad thing.
I grew up thinking the rich get rich, the poor go broke, and it's the rich's fault. So.
Yeah, and it's not your fault if you think that too. You get programmed by Hollywood. Because who's always the bad person in the movies? The rich guy. Look at Titanic, the movie, right? Great love story. No, worst financial programming movie ever. Who's the bad guy in the movie? The rich guy. Who's the hero? The broke person.
Yeah, the guy that was in the cargo hold.
Yeah, so subconsciously we get programmed into our computer, our subconscious mind, right? Our hard drive gets stored that if you make money, you're going to be like that guy in Titanic.
Right.
Right? And there's a line that,
or the Scrooge.
Yeah, exactly. There's a line that jacks everybody up in the movie where it says, we don't have a lot of money, but at least we are happy. So what does that program us? money's bad. You're going to be mistreating
You
people.
can't be rich and happy.
Yeah, exactly. So it really is not our fault. We get programmed by Hollywood, by things we see on TV, by who's portrayed as bad or good in movies that gets embedded. So if you think about one of the greatest lessons you could ever learn is go through life with a napkin over your forearm, not a bib under your chin. When you go through life with a bib under your chin, which actually happens when we are born and we come into this world, we get programmed that that's how we go through life. In essence, that means approaching people with taking from them, because when you have a bib, feed me, right?
Yeah.
And what I say is you take that off from around your chin and you drape it over your forearm like you are a server in the finest dining establishment on the planet, and you approach people with, how can I serve you? And when you serve the best with the flip side of understanding how to do a business, then you get financially rewarded beyond your dreams. There are a lot of people who serve who are broke. There are a lot of people,
service that
there are a
doesn't
lot of
benefit
people
me.
who serve and donate tons of money that you never hear about,
Yeah.
who have money. So this whole notion of, you can't serve and be financially successful also is a load of crap. It's a load of crap. I have a client that I positioned her, she was a coaching member, and her biggest question she was getting from folks was, is it okay to be both spiritual and wealthy? And I said, well, that's your positioning. If that's the number one thing that everyone's asking you, why don't we make that your positioning? So her book is called It's Okay to Be Spiritual and Wealthy. And she teaches folks that you don't need one or the other.
Right.
So yeah, it's about influence, impact, and income.
So what's your favorite charity to donate either time, services, talent,
Just so
or
many
money
of
to?
them. I don't want to name individual ones. There's
No
so
one,
many of
no
them.
one that really stands out. Okay. I hope this has been a benefit to you. I know there are a lot of speakers out there who have been in Toastmasters and National Speakers Association and organizations all over the world who are still asking the question, how does my story impacting other people also profit and pay my bills? And that is a tough question to answer. I've been in this journey for 7 years, and every time I come back around that question, it seems like I come back around James Malinchak, the coaching programs, the boot camps, and other opportunities to learn from him. Get the books. Get the online courses that you can. Get in the coaching program if it's in your budget and you have the time for it. And if it's not, make it that way.
Say something, because this is important. There are a lot of folks out there selling courses online telling you don't have to market. That all you have to do is have a message. All you have to do is have a deeper passion and just want to impact the world, which is important.
Yes.
And don't you find it funny they're marketing to you their courses when they're telling you don't have to market? So
We talked about that on the podcast.
it's got to be both sides. It's your message, the impact, and making a difference, but you have to market. And anybody that tells you that you don't have to do that is full of crap.
Well, and just recently we talked about on the podcast a gentleman that I ran into in a parking lot outside of Starbucks, and he had his Home Depot uniform on and basically tears in his eyes. And he said, I watch your videos. I know,
awesome.
I've seen you teach. I've been in your training classes. I've used your material to mentor others. And he said, I remember when we competed at the district level of Toastmasters. And when you beat me and I walked off the stage and I knew I was done. And he said, I gave up hope and I went and I got a job. And that doesn't mean his message is dead. That doesn't mean his career is over. It just means in that moment he lost hope, and he felt like many of us that as hard as I push and as much passion as I have, I can't seem to get the rent paid and keep the lights on. So what am I doing wrong? And I think that's where big money speaker is making
If
a
I could give
difference.
everybody, look, forget about certifications and forget about winning awards and all that stuff. Go out and book talks. Okay, James, do you have certification? Nope. I have no certification from any speaker groups whatsoever. I don't care about any of that. I figured out the number one key in fee-paid speaking, forget everything else, is you got to get to the 8 balls. And here's what I mean. If you and I are shooting a game of pool, a game of 8 ball, I can knock in every ball on the table, but if you knock in the 8 ball, you win, I lose. The game is knock in the 8 ball, right? The game in speaking, the 8 ball, are the people who have the budgets, who make decisions whether you come in and speak or not. You have to get to the 8 balls. Forget everything else. Stop working on the speech more. Stop working on the business card and all that. Get out there and find as many 8 balls. I was never a great speaker. I'm not even a great speaker today. I just figured out the key to the main key to all speaking is get to the coordinators and get them to pick you.
And those of you who watch this program know that just last week I made the confession that over the last 7 years I've spent 80% of my time writing and developing new curriculum. And it's powerful stuff. It's changing people around the world. but I've also spent 15% of my time actually delivering it and less than 5% selling it, which means I'm broke. And isn't it funny that I'm here now with James again? So it's like full circle. We're not done yet. This is still going on, but I'm going to challenge you. If you're watching and you haven't been to bigmoneyspeaker.com, go to the website now. Get into the boot camp. In fact, send me an email or just comment below. And if you don't have a VIP ticket to next year's event, when they're printed and released, I will make sure that you get one to be at the Big Money Speaker Boot Camp in 2018 in Los Angeles at LAX, right?
Usually, yeah, right at the airport. Very
Right there.
easy.
You can walk from the airport. You don't have to worry about ground transportation. Just walk over there. Ask Jim Gardner. We did it when we went.
Yeah.
James, I appreciate your time.
I
Okay?
appreciate you, buddy.
Thank
Thanks
you very
for
much for
having
being
me. I
here.
appreciate it.
I'm Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.